Hi, I'm Renee Berry. I'm a Partner Development Manager with the Global Startup Program, and I'm here today with Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen Murphy, and I'm Vice President of Channels and Alliances with StarTree, a partner in the Global Startup Program with AWS.
Thanks, Jen. Can you tell me a little bit more about StarTree and your background in partnerships?
Absolutely. So I've been in the industry for about 30 years, working predominantly in channels during that time, and mostly with startups, helping them define their channels and alliances strategy, building teams to execute, and then actually making it happen. I've been with companies in the startup realm like Hortonworks and HashiCorp and Cockroach Labs, and now StarTree.
So I know that StarTree has its roots in the open source world. Can you tell me a little bit about the founding story?
Absolutely. So our founder, Kishore Gopalakrishna, was at LinkedIn in the early 2010s, and they had just released a feature called Who's Viewed My Profile, which you probably use on a daily basis. And they were concerned about the experience that users were having. It was running on a really heavy infrastructure of 1,000 nodes, and the response time was only 1,000 queries per second. So Kishore and a group of developers decided that they could create a better solution, and they created Apache Pinot. And that got the infrastructure down to 75 nodes, so something that was very affordable for LinkedIn to run, and the response time to 5,000 queries per second. So they were pretty excited about that, and I think you and I know our experience today is one that's great. I looked at that all the time and really want to know who's viewed my profile immediately, not 5 days from now.
I don't want to wait a week for that.
Exactly not. I really need.
I stopped caring after.
I need real-time response.
In real time, I'm like, yeah, I want to know.
Exactly.
Okay.
After LinkedIn donated Apache Pinot to the Software Foundation, Kishore and the team decided that they were going to create StarTree as an entity, because as organizations use open source technology, over time it becomes prevalent enough that enterprises need enterprise solutions. That comes in the form of support, it comes in the form of enterprise features, and a number of different components. And that's why they founded StarTree.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about who's using Apache Pinot today?
Yes, it's used across pretty much every industry, from retail to food delivery to finance. One area that is used that everybody can relate to is food delivery services. Absolutely. So Uber, DoorDash, Just Eat, Zomato, globally, organizations are using Apache Pinot. And they're using it in a way that you interact every day. Okay. So you want to order pizza.
Don't tell everyone that I'm doing this every day.
Okay, sorry.
My grandma shouldn't watch this. I don't do it every day, but I do it a lot. I love these food delivery services.
Well, I was going to say, we'll call it the ecumenical you,
okay.
Right? The Queen's you. But people are looking every day to see, I want to order pizza or I want to order food to be delivered. Who's delivering right now and how quickly can it get to me? And Apache Pinot is running those services for you.
Okay.
And on the flip side, from a manager perspective, they are looking at, how is my delivery service running today? Is the food getting out timely? Is it being delivered in a good infrastructure? And are there ways I can improve it? All of that is helping businesses and customers have a better experience through Apache Pinot.
Amazing. So when my kids are like, how many more minutes till the pizza gets here? And I have that real-time update for the family, that's because of Apache Pinot.
It absolutely is.
Okay, very cool. Can we deep dive into a use case for StarTree specifically about some of the customers that you're working with?
Absolutely. So one that I think is really relevant, because they're both an AWS customer and a StarTree customer, is Sovereign. They're in the ad tech industry, and they're really revolutionizing how they're working with their customers by putting real-time analytics into their infrastructure. They have created a solution that helps their customers not only better understand the content that they're developing, but also the revenue impact of that content, so they can optimize it. They are using StarTree to help take what was a 24 to 48 hour data delivery service to their customers and now make it near real time. So those customers are driving about 180 million views, 10 million clicks, and about 1 million revenue clicks across 2,700 customers.
Whoa, can you say that again? That is like a lot of numbers, but it sounds amazing.
It's huge, right?
Yes.
And just think, it's all about the books that we're buying and reading.
Okay, very cool. So they're helping publishers understand that data, but then because they're getting the real-time information, they can make that data more valuable.
Right.
Okay.
What books are selling, what topics are of interest to their customers, and who's buying what as a result of those searches.
In real time.
In real time.
Amazing. So Jen, what is important to get established with startups before diving into partnerships? Because I know you have amazing experience in this space, and there's a lot of questions about, how startups invest their time and resources, and when is it right to actually take that step into working and building a channel strategy?
That's an excellent question, and it's definitely something that's taken me a few different organizations to figure out. But really, in order for a startup to be successful in partnering, they need to have an understanding of their go-to-market motion. And by that, how are the sellers selling? Is it a repeatable process? Is it something that they can clearly articulate to partners? Because partners need to embrace what you're doing, and they need to understand how you're doing it. So that's the foundation that I look for. And, I kind of selfishly also move with a group of people. So I'm at my 4th company with our CRO and my 3rd company with our VP of sales. So we kind of have a motion that we work with together. But we all understand that until we can articulate how we're selling, it's hard to work with partners. So we go very tight. Here at StarTree, it really right now is around what is that technology stack? Because we are an OLAP platform and we need a data source. So AWS being the platform, Kafka generally being one of the data sources that we see quite frequently into StarTree. And how do those technologies come together and how do we want to partner? Which led me to working with AWS.
Awesome. So one of the things that stands out to me about what you're saying is the importance of getting that messaging down. Like you can't just start with, oh, hey, this works on the front page of our website. So now we throw that over the fence and we are ready for partnership. You actually have to be testing that out in the field with sales, getting that feedback cycle, and then really understanding what's resonating in order to scale and start to say, how does that work with a partner?
Absolutely. And there are different types of partnerships, right? So from a technology perspective, there's the marketplace with AWS. What's our messaging on the marketplace? Most people believe if you put a listing up, they'll find it and they'll buy it, but that's not the case, right? That's really just the first domino to fall in the whole process. So you need to be able to articulate that, and you need your sellers to point people to the marketplace.
One of my favorite things on this one, which Jen has heard many times, but a lot of times if people are getting their marketplace listing up, it's oh, it's up. And then it's well, now what, right? You have to have different things in order to make that function, kind of like having a LinkedIn page. If you have a LinkedIn page, but there's no activity on it, how much value are you going to get out of it, right? So
Exactly.
With AWS Marketplace, I'm seeing tons of startups that are leveraging that more and more, and that working well with co-sell strategy and different go-to-market pieces that I feel you've set up really good structures around for StarTree are a really great way to put the package together.
Thank you. And that is all about the go-to-market, right? We've talked about this a lot as we've been planning and executing, but as we look at not only AWS and the marketplace, but what are those other technologies and where are they partnering? So some of our biggest technology partners also run on AWS. How do we bring customers together to that platform? And then how do we co-sell with AWS, co-sell with those other partners, and then drive the purchase through to the marketplace? That's the behavior that I've really been driving with our sellers. And you've seen, we've gone from no transactions to a pretty significant number of transactions relative to our size. And we are really taking advantage of a lot of programs that AWS offers through the Global Startup Program.
Can you talk a little bit about what has the impact been of the Global Startup Program for StarTree's go-to-market?
Absolutely. So, and I think it happens on a few different levels. One was the executive buy-in. So not all of our executives are familiar with building out a channel or even building out a marketplace strategy. And through the Global Startup Program, they've gotten massive exposure to AWS, and they see how AWS is leaning in to help us succeed. They question it sometimes, but they really are excited about it, and they've upped the investment in the partnership as a result of that, where our sellers are really bringing it into their conversation as they go through the purchasing cycle. Because if there's an enterprise purchase agreement, they can shorten the time to market in going through the marketplace. it helps them close those deals much more quickly. And having a partner development manager like yourself who has experience with startups and can coach us appropriately is something that's unique to AWS, at least in my experience. I've worked with the other cloud vendors and have never had anybody with that particular lens on the partnership, and it's made it so much easier for me, both internally as well as understanding how to drive through the mechanisms of AWS.
Nice. I feel like that's good feedback. We often hear about startups having so many options within pathways to take with partnerships. So not just like different vendors, but within one group, right? It's like, oh, there's like 30 paths. Like, what can we actually spend time on that's going to be worth us prioritizing, right? So like when I'm thinking about working with startups, I'm always keeping that top of mind because we just like can't do everything. So
exactly. And as a startup, I have a very small team. And when all of those options are available to us, it's hard to pick which ones are best. And your guidance for us has really helped us succeed very quickly. So when I joined, I was telling people that it was going to take 18 to 24 months for us to really achieve what we wanted out of the partnership. And in the 7 months that I've been with the company, we've really hit that stride in 7 months versus 18.
Nice.
And I really attribute it to the Global Startup Program.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about that 7 months? Because I know it wasn't just like signing up for AWS Marketplace and APN and even GSP, all of our acronyms at AWS. But I know that you were working with the field to make sure they understood enablement, and there's different steps that you did to help make sure the startup, had visibility into the different layers of this investment.
Absolutely. So the internal education that I've really gone through is helping them understand what Marketplace is, what it is not. Right? It's not, as we said before, if you build it, they will come. You still have to educate your sellers and your buyers. We've also spent a lot of time talking about the variety of programs, the go-to-market programs that we can leverage, the funding programs, and getting our engineering team to ensure that we're meeting all the basic standards to work our way up through the AWS partner programs.
Can you tell us a little bit about how AWS Marketplace has been a factor in your go-to-market strategy for StarTree?
Absolutely. As you know, a lot of startups focus on trying to hit that doubling in growth year over year for the first few years. As we entered into our current fiscal year, when I joined the company, it became core to our go-to-market. It was something that we talked to the sellers about, that as we discussed earlier, really educating them on how it can help them shorten sales cycles from a purchasing perspective, and also eliminate some of the need to put paperwork in place, depending on the customer. So from that aspect around selling.
Why does that mean? I mean, I know why, but I feel like that's something I get a lot of questions
really
about.
Important.
So so you say, eliminating the need or reducing the need. So what does that kind of paperwork look like? How does that help the sellers, and why are they excited about it?
So there are a few different reasons. So when a customer has an EDP in place, there's budget that needs to be spent.
And that's an enterprise discount plan for anyone that no, lots of people do, but I just still call them out sometimes. I say them myself all the time.
So when there is an EDP in place, oftentimes there's budget that's not yet spent, especially towards the end of the fiscal year. So the sellers engaging their customers and the purchasing team at those customers to understand where they are with their EDP can sometimes really accelerate what the budget is, sometimes even increase the size of the deal when it's towards the end of the fiscal year and it's not spent.
Right, so part of that is if they sign up for that discounted pricing ahead of time, then they pay ahead of time, so they get that enterprise discount plan. And then startups that are working with AWS and then they're looking to procure software through AWS Marketplace can use some of that spend that they've already spent with AWS for those software purchases. So I think a lot of times people are kind of like, oh, I don't know, EDPs, but this is one of those ways that I feel like gets startups really excited about working with Marketplace, because you have a chance to get in front of those customers with a vendor that they are already working with, right?
Absolutely.
But I think we've seen sellers be really excited about that, but it sounds like that's something that StarTree sellers were also.
They are very excited, and it has really amplified how we're selling and who we're selling to as we talk to AWS customers. And they being our sellers, have leaned into that. And they are really looking to figure out how they can take advantage of different programs that either we have access to or the customers have access to. And we continue to feed back the successes to the sellers, so that snowball keeps rolling down the hill and getting bigger and bigger.
Nice. Are there specific values that the sellers have started to see, just organically from some of those early deals that they've had go through AWS Marketplace?
So we've had a couple of customers increase the size of their deals.
Okay.
And we've had shortened sales cycles as a result of leveraging the EDPs, which our sellers have really latched onto. And as soon as I know it's happening, I promote it back to the team, and it's started that snowball rolling down the hill. So they're really excited about how we are seeing the increase in activity and how it's helping them close their deals. One customer in particular that I'm thinking of is one that has expanded a number of times over the last year. And when they realized they could purchase through Marketplace, it made the deal bigger when they did their first expansion.
Okay, amazing. Can you talk a little bit about spiffs with startups? I know you've experimented with different things in the past, and I overheard you at a table and I was like, wait, what did you do? That's amazing. So if you are open to sharing that, I'd love for you to share some of what you've seen there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So one of the things that I've done to get sellers excited when they don't necessarily embrace marketplaces is to spiff them. So spiff them on who has the first deals through the marketplace, and it's a quarterly spiff. And how many deals have you done? Who has the first one? Who has the largest one? And we'll run those all in a specific quarter. So everybody has the potential to win. It's not just, somebody else got the first deal, so I might as well not focus on it. There's a lot of different irons in the fire for them to get money.
Amazing. Do you get pushback on getting those set up, or you're like, well, I've done it before and it's worked? Like, what happened?
Well, you were at the table when I had the conversation.
I was like, this is amazing. But I was then grilling you on it because I was like, wait, have you done this before? And you were like, yes. So I'm just wondering, when you're bringing it to leadership in general, how do you kind of get through any pushback that you've come across?
Yeah. So I oftentimes talk about those different things where its sales cycles are shortened or deals actually get bigger.
Yeah.
And the investment for the sellers, or for the company to the sellers, is minimal, right? You're really starting to develop competition amongst people who live to compete, right? So you could give them $1 or a pencil and they'd probably fight it out just as hard. But when you're giving them actual money, they get excited about it.
Yeah.
So it's not extremely hard, but it definitely is a sell to the management team that I work with.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I think one of those things that we talk about at AWS, especially with Marketplace, is the characteristics of a successful seller.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those has to do with comp neutrality. And so as I had heard you talking about different spiffs to help get sales teams to lean in to this as a new kind of muscle to build,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was an interesting experiment to set up, but you were like, no, we've done it before and this is why it's worked. So I thought that was compelling.
Absolutely. But comp neutrality is a different piece, and actually a really interesting one.
Okay.
Because not every startup is willing to make that investment, right? Because it's an additional amount of money off the books. Here at StarTree, everybody at the executive level, from finance through to the CEO, believe that comp neutrality right now is the ultimate most important piece. And from a finance perspective, our head of finance, this is kind of funny. So I met him for the first time at our sales kickoff.
Okay.
And without ever saying anything to him, he announced to the sellers that he wanted them to buy through marketplaces because it saved us the legwork of having to collect from a number of different customers.
Okay, that's another lens. I mean, I'm not hearing about that all the time, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's questions from finance about why this investment or not. And at other times, we have someone on our team who's a former CFO. So anytime there's CFOs that are having questions about how it all works, I'm always like, oh, I know the person you should talk to because he had a similar lens to it. Sounds like your CFO. So
exactly. And it is very different. I've never run into that before where I've had such support at the onset from finance. But it is extremely helpful to have someone at that level pushing the sellers through Marketplace in addition to everything else that we're doing.
Nice. It sounds like the team is aligned and seeing that value. And then now it's not just you saying, hey, it will increase the sales cycle, but you're actually seeing that through some of the deals that are coming through.
Absolutely. And as you look at kind of the ROI of doing it, the savings of someone doing collections for multiple organizations is covering the cost of transacting through the marketplace.
Interesting. Cool. Well, Jen, thank you so much for coming and taking the time to chat with us about StarTree and the partnership with AWS.
Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the partnership.